Hi, Anne.
Hi, Susie.
How are you? Just checking.
Well, how are you? More like it. How are you doing managing?
Hi, Susie.
Hi, Jean. Hello.
All right. How are you?
Well, yes, we're
getting there.
We're getting there. Yeah.
Horrible time.
My sister and I went to dress Mum yesterday.
Oh,
so that was
nice, Anne.
I've just been to the hairdressers.
Have you? Oh, it does. It
We've got more cases of COVID, so we'll probably be back in again. We get 2 cases, we have to go back in anyway. I thought I've got my hair done. I've got my bird baths. My birds are swimming around in there, so I'm not going to bother.
Right.
Yes. So I bet that was very painful, wasn't it?
It was part of helping acceptance, I think.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to look after Mum.
I know.
Yeah.
So Susie, what have you dressed her in?
We've dressed her in the dress I made for her 60th wedding anniversary.
Oh, lovely.
That's lovely.
And, yes.
And how's your dad?
Well, each day seems to present something new to grieve about, really. But also he's letting go, and then the rest of the day he's doing the sorts of things that he normally does. And
he won't realise yet,
No,
he won't have comprehended.
He keeps saying, it's the nights and the mornings that are really hardest. And also, he keeps saying what he's lost, and it is hard.
The problem is you keep thinking,
hello,
well, if I'd done this.
I think Janice must be in there somewhere.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you, yes.
I'm sorry, I'm running behind. So I am listening to you, but I'm actually having to cook at the same time because I've got like kids here at the moment. So I will be appearing and disappearing, but at all times I can hear you.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Disembodied voice, we know you're there.
Yeah, I'll reply if you speak to me.
Oh, Bridget, have you had a nice wee break?
Oh, the Lake District was just fab, folks. Really
lovely.
Yes, bit of a recharge, and I mean, I think we all had gorgeous weather, but yeah, it is lovely.
Yes,
so,
it's blue again here, but
yeah, it's amazing now because we've had a dull day.
Oh yes, we've had a grey day here in Leeds. It's
the weather is gorgeous.
It said the full sun was going to come out at 5 o'clock, and yes, it's
out now. Is it out now?
It's out now. Well, yes, it's a blue sky. It's not grey and miserable like this morning. It was horrible, really, after Monday and yesterday.
You've had a wonderful hairdo. It's gorgeous.
I've washed it, that's all. And it's so long. I thought, what can I do with it? So I put some rollers in it.
Oh, it looks gorgeous.
Bit old-fashioned, really.
No.
Well, yeah. Hair's gone back to pre-coiffed, hasn't it?
We were all kind of.
Hi, Jane.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Teresa.
Hello.
Hi, Susie. Yeah.
And everybody.
Yeah.
Just getting myself sorted.
I can't believe how quickly these weeks have gone past. I thought, ooh, this is week 5. How did that happen?
Oh,
It's scary.
Yeah.
A friend of mine said 30 years ago, Susie, when you get older, the time goes faster, and I didn't understand it. But I
can say that again. I mean, I'm not working, but there hardly seems hours in the day, really.
no.
Well, they reckon the world is spinning a bit faster or something, don't they?
Oh, do they?
Yes.
My world certainly is. Yeah.
You had your hair cut, Jane?
No, I can't get an appointment till the 14th of May.
I know, I'm something similar.
Oh, I'm going to be like Rapunzel then with grey streaks. Welcome to our world.
It's not grey, it's platinum.
That's right. How very true.
I must admit that's why I abandoned dyeing.
It's gorgeous colour, your hair. Yeah.
No.
Oh, thank you.
I prefer it, Susie, to what you used to do when you used to do with the henna.
Henna.
Yes, I prefer it as it is. It's like a friend I saw on Monday. She's platinum's coming through. I said, I do like the top of your hair. And she said, I've saved so much money from going to the hairdresser, and she's going to leave it as it is. I said, oh, when mine comes through, I won't dye mine. I'll accept it as it is. the cancer. The cancer and
Hi, sorry.
Hi, Shell.
Hi.
Tracy. Sonia might be a bit late, and Jane is at the seaside.
Oh wow,
Lovely.
Jane's at Filey.
Oh, wonderful. I'll sit there.
Hi, Tracy. Oh, not connected yet.
What are we doing tonight? I know we did that last week.
Probably not what I told you.
No, it's
sorry about that.
Last week we did hydrotherapy, didn't we? And that was the time.
This week we're going to have a look at juices and types of juices and why those types of juices.
Right.
Susie, it's Janice. I've got to pick up my son from gym club at 7:30.
Yeah.
It'll take me 5 to 10 minutes to get there. Right. So just if there's anything particular, well, just be aware that I'll have to go there because
Okay. I'll start very soon. Hi, Tracy.
Hi.
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 So also have a look at how fruits and vegetables help prevent estrogen dominance in the body as well. Now, are you okay if we have a mute during the session unless you'd like to ask a question? Thank you. Here we go. Right, back to the beginning. So really, one of the things that I've mentioned before about juicing is that 21 years ago, when I did my first juice detox as a student, we drank carrot and apple juice throughout the whole 3 days. So 4 carrot and apple juices a day. Now, I couldn't possibly do that now because firstly, juicing fruit produces a lot of sugars, and carrots are very, very sweet. And so carrots and apple make a very sweet juice combined. And the reason is that our environment, our external environment, has changed so much in the last 21 years. We are now in a situation where it's much, much harder for any of us to metabolize sugars. And this is why people have put a lot of weight on. It's why we have a lot of diabetes, because the electromagnetic frequencies that we're now subjected to are having a huge effect on our ability to manage sugars. And this is the reason why, you know, you may find some of the juices even a little bit sour or tart, but you'll be surprised how quickly, if you haven't been eating any sugars, that you can feel quite comfortable with that. And that a fruit juice, for example, can then taste surprisingly sweet. So we're also going to have a look at balancing endocrine function using some of the phytochemicals and why they're so supportive for liver detoxification of things like excess estrogens, both in the environment and that have been not properly metabolized out of the body. So I'm going to start by mentioning gentleman paralysis, and he is a bit of a florid looking man, to be honest, but he had a lovely philosophy. He was an alchemist, and he talked about, so he used to work, of course, with, or talk about gold alchemy, you know, transmuting things into gold. And he spoke about the body energy of the seed feeding man's body, the soul energy of a seed feeding man's soul, and the spirit energy of the seed feeding man's spirit. So a very subtle philosophy. And he was acknowledging really what the Chinese philosophy acknowledges, and which many of you have probably heard me yabber on about as well, which is the qi energy that we get from our food, and how that nourishes a higher aspect of ourselves that we can't see, if you like, but is nourishing a different part of us. And this is why it's so wonderful to have an abundance of fresh food coming in to the diet and into our body, because food isn't just a physical substance that has its vitamins, its minerals, its proteins, its fats, its carbs. Food is literally a medium for bringing energy into the body. And so the amazing thing about plants is, firstly, that they're very, very rich in minerals, very, very rich in vitamins as well. But the minerals are absolutely essential to all of your bodily functions. And they're high in vegetables, in particular, high in calcium and silica, which are really important for your bones and your teeth. And it's interesting that, you know, often people worry about calcium because we're taught to worry about calcium in terms of bones and teeth, but particularly bones, and particularly as women, particularly any women who've reached menopause or approaching it, because of the risk of osteoporosis. And yet plants are actually a very rich source of calcium. And of course, they're so alkalizing that they help keep an environment in the body where your calcium will hold its place in the hard tissue of the body. Now, the other fascinating thing about plants is that they have the ability to transmute minerals. For example, magnesium into calcium, calcium into silica. And so even though you might not have all of the minerals available in a particular soil, a plant has the ability to transmute those minerals or convert them into another one. And vegetables are also really important because they're used in your brain for thought and reasoning, and in your nervous system for communication between the nervous system in your brain and the nervous system throughout your body. So they're really important for that connection between your mental processes and the functions that you carry out. So why vegetables and fruit, a little fruit for juicing? And I really do mean a little, because, as I say, most of it is so sweet. And so just looking on the fruit side at what might be appropriate in a small amount. A nice combination is to have, if you're juicing a bit of beetroot, and again, I wouldn't recommend masses of beetroot, perhaps a beetroot, then a lovely fruit to go with that is maybe half an orange, but no more, again, because there's quite a lot of sweetness there. And then to put that with something like celery, which is very, very water rich. And so the other fruits that are lower in sugars are things like berries, but particularly things like blueberries, and also your other citrus, so lemon, and maybe a little bit of grapefruit. But again, now that things are changing and they are, being subjected to even more frequencies via 5G, which they know is having an even bigger impact on blood sugar and blood clotting as well. Gosh, the number of people I've heard over this last year or so with blood clotting issues that have created a problem, and my own mum is one of them. And so thinking about the grapefruit, that you would maybe a pink grapefruit, a third to a half, no more, a lemon or a lime, and let's just get that Heidi in, and have I missed any out? Lemon, lime, grapefruit, probably we've mentioned it, just a bit of orange with a beetroot. So you'd be all right to have a lemon or have a lime, that's okay. And again, they can give quite a nice amount of sourness, can a lemon and a lime, to a juice. And so then, of course, all of those are very vitamin rich. All of your fruits like that, high in vitamins. Although, obviously the more coloured your vegetables, for example, things like your red peppers, really high in vitamins A and C, then the more colourful your vegetable, the more vitamin rich it will be. But of course, your vegetables and your fruit are really, really rich in minerals, and your vegetables particularly the way that they hold potassium. So what is happening is that you are taking the pressure off your digestion for the 3 days, particularly of the juice fast. And at the same time, the juices are so high in minerals that you are cleansing and re-nourishing your cells because of what happens with the potassium, which we'll talk about in a minute. And so this way of fasting is not just cleansing like a water fast, it is also highly re-nourishing. And then of course you've got all the phytochemicals that we don't even know all of the benefits of yet. We know a lot of their benefits, but we don't know all of them. And they are held in the colours in our fruit and veg, and they have further benefits. And really, really alkalizing as well. And so why are we bothered really about the potassium? Well, the main reason are that most of us are too high in sodium because as children and as young adults growing up, and perhaps even going further on into our lives, most people's diets have been higher in sodium than was necessary. And so, you know, your hard cheeses, your bacons, your sausages, your hams, your breads, your biscuits, your cakes, your, you know, takeaways, your ready meals, any canned food, of course, used to be salty as well. When I was a kid, anyway, it used to contain salt. So any foods like that that we've consumed over the years will have brought much more sodium into the diet. And of course, it's the toxic form of sodium from table salt, rather than the organic form that you find in vegetables that is useful. And so most of us have a toxic load of sodium that needs to be cleared out, because it diffuses, and unfortunately you can't see all of this diagram here, but it diffuses into our cells, and as that comes in, the potassium diffuses out, and the potassium is displaced by all of this blooming rotten old sodium. And of course, sodium can contribute to pain in the body, itching, general backup of wastes and acidity. And one of the other things that can happen is that the body starts to swell. So it'll swell in, you know, bloating in the abdomen, swollen ankles, swollen fingers, other areas that can swell. We can become puffy. And the other thing that can happen, as Gerson has written about in his cancer therapy, is that where we have a tumour, the sodium can start to leach from the cells in the tumour and create a sodium ring around itself. And then we get a puffiness or swelling around it as well. And so what we do by juicing is that the juices are really, really high in potassium, and that potassium, using the sodium potassium pumps in the cell membrane and ATP for energy to drive the pump, pushes the sodium out and pushes the potassium in, and helps to push out extracellular sodium, because sodium should be working outside the cells in your digestive serum and places like that. It should be tensing your central nervous system if necessary, and that helps the signals go along the nerves, along with the relaxation of the nerves with calcium. And as the potassium comes in, the juices help reinstate that lovely intracellular potassium, which helps structure all of the water inside your cells. And so potassium inside your cells behaves like a building block. It creates building blocks in the cells and stacks the water, because it holds it almost in an ice cube form. But in actual fact, inside your cells, it's almost like a gel. And, you know, almost like an aloe vera gel, you know, that you can buy in a tube to, you know, rub into your skin. Potassium creates that kind of gel inside your cells and helps hold the structure of the water. And additionally, it makes iodine much more accessible to the cells, which helps your function of your mitochondria, which are little energy factories inside the cells. Now, one of the unfortunate things is that there are various ways in which your cells can become damaged. And so one way is oxygen starvation. She says, just remembering to take a deeper breath in amongst all the yabbering. And so if you think about breathing and being able to breathe plenty of fresh air, and to, you know, focus on doing that when you're out for a walk in the fresh air, to maybe just focus on your breathing, amongst listening to the birds and the bees and the enjoying the greenery at the moment. But if we are starved of oxygen, it helps reduce the function of our little energy factories inside our cells, our mitochondria. Physical trauma, or mental emotional trauma, can reduce the function of our mitochondria. Any kind of stress. Toxic metals like mercury in fillings, mercury in vaccines, aluminium in vaccines, aluminium in pans, copper, excess copper, if our pipes are maybe old, and or as lead piping used to be a toxic metal in piping into the house, can contribute to too high levels. And we need to be able to detoxify those from the body, but if we can't very readily, then they will also impact on our mitochondrial function. Now, the difficulty thing of that is that then your ATP production, your energy production from your cell, reduces. That means that flooding, that diffusion of sodium is able to happen as the cell is damaged. That it's much more readily able to lose potassium with that sodium influx, and starts to swell with excess water to dilute the sodium, and because the sodium attracts water in excess and makes the cell swell. And unfortunately, all of those things contribute to your cells and your tissues dying. So how do we correct that balance? Well, one of the first ways is to bring in plenty of vegetables in our diet, and then with the juice detox, helping to bring in particular vegetables that are going to really bump up our potassium levels, and yet not increase sugars that are going to be overload our potassium, our metabolism with sugars. And so one of the vegetables I would consider bringing in, not in great quantities, but one in a juice would not go amiss. And I'm going to do a juice list and send that out for week 6. Is beetroot, very high in iron. Again, nice and alkalizing. A so-called blood tonic, and partly called that due to our the colour of it has long been known as a blood tonic, but also it's very good at helping us with our metabolism, where we're reusing nutrients, and particularly in the metabolites of B vitamins, for example, and recycling. And so beetroot is really useful from that perspective. Celery is lovely, partly because it's so water rich. Cucumber is another one that's really water rich that you might like to include. Some of either of those in any of your juices, because it will reduce the strength of the juice flavour, and it will increase the water content. And so celery is fabulous for helping clear and eliminate wastes from the body, and it's also a lovely tonic for your nervous system and for your glandular system. Huge all round, probably the top vegetable used for juices these days, because again, it's not really high in sugars either. Then you've also got things like kale. Kale's high in iron, high in magnesium. It's a nice one if you can get it organic and fresh, from the perspective of a bit of a bitter hit in your juice, and it's high in calcium as well. So again, a lovely one to get. You won't need a lot because it's quite a strong flavour. One thing I really want to mention is cabbage juice. Cabbage juice is high in what's called so-called vitamin U, which is kind of a made-up vitamin by Dr. Garney Shaney from Stanford University back, I think, in around maybe even as early as the 1950s. So I do apologise for citing quite an early bit of research, but he had maybe, I think, up to 20 people that he was treating for peptic ulcers. And he found that cabbage juice combined with some carrot, he healed several people from peptic ulcers within about 15 days. And that was a complete healing. And vitamin U is one of the ingredients that is so fantastic for healing the gut. And cabbage generally is absolutely fantastic for gut health. So again, it's a really nice one to include regularly. You know, even if you only put a little bit in, just take a couple or 3 outer leaves off the cabbage so that you can use the rest for a stir fry or something like that. Tomatoes are something that the Gerson therapy uses in quantity, not necessarily in their juices, but in a particular highly vegetable based soup called Hippocrates soup. They are really rich in lycopene, and it's a really powerful antioxidant that is, again, reputed to help with prostate cancer. So they reckon men should eat plenty of tomatoes. In fact, I knew someone, a guy that he used to take a punnet of cherry tomatoes to work just to snack on. So he would eat his way through a punnet of cherry tomatoes every single day, and use those as a little snack rather than anything else that one might snack on. And so then, as well as helping against prostate cancer, lycopene is absolutely fabulous for your eyes. And being an antioxidant, it's one of those nutrients that helps in the cascade of nutrients, you know, replacing an electron, donating an electron to vitamin C, which donates an electron to vitamin E, then through to zinc, selenium, lycopene. They're all donating electrons to each other to help keep that antioxidant cascade going, in order to keep your body fresh and healthy. And like you've got a long fridge life, a long life of keeping your essential fats in your brain and your body, keeping them fresh so you don't go rancid. So another thing to think about, and particularly as we're in late spring, and I don't know if anybody else is the same, but there's some blooming stinging nettles popping up all over my garden that I need to get out and maybe include in my juices, because they are the most amazing blood purifier. You'll have heard me go on a lot about nettle tea for kidneys. Because nettle tea has a natural form, or nettles have a natural form of organic sodium in, they're useful for the kidneys. They are quite diuretic, so they help clear the kidneys, and in that way they clean the blood, also support liver function through that means. They are known to help clear eczema, and if you can imagine, if you are cleansing the blood via cleansing your kidneys and your liver, then that's how you're going to help clean up your skin. They also have a reputation for reducing hemorrhoids and alleviating them, and also for supporting bowel function, because of course they've got that also, along with the salty flavour, natural sodium high, they've got a slight bitterness, which helps gut flora. It's one of the bitter herbs, but particularly this other one on the left, dandelion, is one of our bitter tonics. It's quite laxative. It's got that really bitter flavour, that again, the bitter herbs help feed your gut flora. And also dandelion is known to stimulate liver bile flow. and so it's a lovely one for supporting the liver. Then you've got things like parsley. Parsley is really high in vitamin C, it's really high in iron, great for strengthening the digestive system, along with the liver and the spleen as well, because it's such a tonic from that perspective, high in antioxidants. Also helps the glandular system, your endocrine system. Oh, Jane's managed to get in as well as Sonia. And high in phytonutrients. It's also anti-cancer, high in something called apigenin, and also a known heart nutrient is parsley, containing the apigenin, and it's also a nerve calmer. And interestingly, Gerson say that if you can get it, it's really good to put parsley root into your Hippocrates soup. And I do know that sometimes in the year, Ocado have it, because I've had it a few times from them, but they don't always have it. Thyme is rich in phenols, some of our plant nutrients. It's known to be antiseptic, so also antifungal, and toxic to cells that should not be there in our body. But being antifungal, very useful from the perspective of anything like ringworm, like candida, and athlete's foot, anything like that going on with the skin. Also, we've got rosemary, and again, slightly harder to juice because it's so woody, but if you take the needles off, you get a hit of rosemary, and I wouldn't really do an awful lot of that because it's quite strong. But rosemary is known to increase something, and I hope I'm going to say this fluidly in one, glucuronidation, which is part of your liver detoxification pathway, and rosemary is lovely for supporting that. You only need about a tablespoon at the most of these juices, so you need very, very little. They are, quite powerful. Last year we had a lot of borage in the garden, and I think I picked about a dozen to 14-inch high stem and pushed the stem and the leaves and the flowers through the juicer. Quite an interesting flavour. So storage. Well, really, what I would suggest to you, if you can, is that you juice your drink and you drink it. You juice your veg and you drink it, because it's far better than buying any in, far better than juicing it and keeping it yourself, because it will oxidize quite quickly. If you do need to juice something in advance to take with you somewhere, do try to keep it no longer than 4 hours, ideally, and certainly not more than 24, because the phytochemicals in it, the enzymes in it, start to deteriorate, immediately that we've juiced it, and gradually all of the nutrients will go off. Some citrus is helpful to pop in your juice, if you juice a bit of lemon, if you juice a bit of lime, if you have got to leave it, because those citrus fruit will help it keep it fresher. If you refrigerate it, or pop it in an insulated container, that's also helpful if you're on the move. Any questions about juices so far? No? Okay. So
I have one.
I've got one.
The thing is, I'm always wary of tomatoes. I don't eat them because they say they are connected with arthritis.
Yes. Yeah. The belladonna family, all of it, so your tomatoes, your peppers, your aubergines, your potatoes, are known to as part of the belladonna family, that for some people they can create inflammation if they're arthritic. What Gerson used to say is that if you open up the liver detoxification pathways properly, and those are clear, that there should be no problem with the belladonna family. And he actually, of course, puts potatoes and tomatoes in the Hippocrates soup. But if you feel that for you they might create inflammation, then yes, it's better to leave them out and replace them maybe with a bit more cucumber, or you could use radishes in the juice to bring a little bit of that red colour in, instead of using the tomatoes.
Susie, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah, actually.
I know when we're juicing a lemon, we are actually taking all the pith and the skin off, are we? I've never juiced lemon before.
Right. Yeah. If you take the skin off, actually, if you've got organic, I would leave the pith on, because the pith can be, equally a source of nutrition as much as the rest of the lemon.
Right.
And also, if you've got organic, I would really recommend to zest a bit of the citrus into your, particularly your lemon, your lime and orange, into your juice, because for example, lemons, there is folic acid B9 in the skin that isn't particularly high in the lemon.
Okay, thank you.
So a little bit of zest is really lovely. Tracy, did you want to say something?
I don't think so.
Oh right, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah. So on to estrogen dominance and how we can focus on reducing that. So there are actually about 24 different types of estrogen hormone molecules, and all of them are produced from cholesterol. So you've got a particular enzyme called aromatase that converts your androgen hormones into estrogen, and once they've completed the tasks that they're made up for in the body, your body will shoot them off to the liver to be metabolized because they're like, our hormones are like a little switching device, and once they've been used, we need to detoxify them out of the body, because we don't want an excess, because we only make what we need and then ideally we let go of it again if our metabolic pathways are working well in the liver. So the liver will metabolize it or deactivate it or excrete it through the feces or the urine if it's working at a good level. So your liver is like your hormone processor and director, and if you have excess toxins in the body that have come in maybe through the diet, because you're very stressed, because your environment is very toxic, then the liver won't be able to process hormones, that it needs to excrete as quickly or efficiently as it should. And what happens then is, because they back up in the body, that leads to hormonal imbalances, and or defects in optimal metabolism. And I think probably many of you will have heard me mention, for example, fibroids in the womb that can occur sort of as we're approaching menopause, and sometimes again our estrogen metabolism isn't as efficient as it should be, because it's excess estrogens that can create a fibroid in the womb, and so also unfortunately can contribute to things like breast cancer. And so where we have this difficulty that the liver can't metabolize the hormones as quickly or efficiently, that can lead to those hormones being maybe partially broken down by the liver. And then unfortunately, they'll go back into the bloodstream in the cycling through the liver and start searching for receptor sites on your cells. And because they're not fully functioning, the message isn't a complete one or necessarily a helpful one. So an example I can give you of that is, let's say if the hormone is a switch in one of your rooms and it comes into the room, and instead of switching on the light, it switches on the heating. And so a comparable, hopefully a comparable comparison, goodness me, double-barreled thing is that if you have that issue in your body, let's say, for example, as you're coming up to the menopause, that you're generating a lot of hot sweats because of the excess hormones, rather than being able to clear that via the usual routes from the body, such as your urine and your feces. And so what I'd really love you to think about is how useful cruciferous vegetables are, such as your broccoli, your cauliflower, all colour cabbages, your red, your green, your white, lovely Brussels sprouts, kohlrabi, anything like that. Radishes, I've already mentioned, things like swedes and turnips, your other root vegetables. Oh, and yes, things like kale and chard, because they've got two really helpful ingredients. One of them is, well, its short name is IC3, and the other one is what happens with IC3 is the DIM, and so DIM. And so IC3, this ingredient in your cruciferous veg, promotes favourable ratios of good to bad estrogens. So because they're high in good estrogens, they help reduce your bad estrogens. And so also you've got this IC3 that was released on chewing, and it converts to DIM in the stomach, and your stomach inhibits the formation of those bad estrogen metabolites. So those estrogens that are only partially metabolized will be helped to be sort of deconstructed by the DIM. And that can be really helpful in cases of breast cancer, for example. So what you've got, unfortunately, as well, is if people are taking antacids, that can prevent the conversion of IC3 to DIM. So even if they've got a lovely intake of IC3 through cruciferous vegetables, the antacids help reduce the conversion. And the other unfortunate thing is that if we're very stressed, and also if we're aging and our digestive function's gone down, that our stomach acids can, be lower, and that means that we don't break down the IC3 in the best way in the first place. So one good reason to try and reduce stress as much as possible. Then we've also got something called calcium D-glucarate, and I've mentioned that glucuronidation pathway in the liver, calcium D-glucarate is something that helps increase that liver pathway, that helps your liver detoxify. And it's found in all fruit and vegetables. So there you go, there's a form of calcium that is in all fruit and veg, but it's concentrated highest is this form of calcium in apples. And what's recommended is that if you are going to have any apples coming into your diet, if you've got any apples coming in to your juices, that you make them green ones. Green crab apples are better than red crab apples. Green apples are better than red apples because they contain a lot less sugar. And even then, I would suggest that if you're going to have some in a juice, that you sort of limit it to half an apple, and make sure it's a green one. Hello.
It's really hard to get green apples all year round.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. They are the hardest.
Billy eats like 3 apples a day, but the only time we ever get them is when they're on our tree.
Yes. Yeah. It's really unfortunate. They, I mean, green apples when I was a kid were really common. You mostly had green apples. You knew that an apple was green. But now, because they have endeavoured to sweeten all fruit, you know, our berries are much sweeter, our pears and apples are much sweeter because they've hybridized them to encourage sweetness. And that has meant that, of course, the red ones are much sweeter, and they're the ones you find predominantly in the shops because basically it helps hook people on sugary foods. They're more likely to eat other sugary foods, and people really, you know, they can't hack the green ones these days, you know.
I know, even Billy is conditioned.
They're not sweet enough.
Even Billy is conditioned. He doesn't want a green apple now if I give him one. He prefers to have a red one.
Yeah, my little boy says he likes red ones. But I peel it and he doesn't notice the Golden Delicious, but the Granny Smith.
Right. Yes.
Golden Delicious is okay then, green apple to eat.
Sorry,
a Golden Delicious okay to eat? Or are they a bit sweet?
If you can get them organic, they are probably a sweeter green apple, but not quite as sweet as the red apples.
I don't know where you'd get them from because I can't get them in beanies. I can't even get them in beanies. Like
I haven't seen any Golden Delicious for a long time, but you can sometimes get Wilcox are greener, and Granny Smiths.
Yeah,
if you can get them. And I think the thing to do is to keep asking if you have a local provider. Keep asking if they can get them. You know, if you've got a local organic shop, a local farmer that buys his fruit in like ours does, then do say, you know, is there any chance that you could get some green apples in?
It's very difficult over here. You just take what you can get that's organic, because it's better to use organic, isn't it, than non-organic?
Oh, far better. Yes. And if you've got you know, neighbours sort of September that have some September apples, to ask them, you know, if you've got any spare, could you possibly give me some? Because
but then what can you store them then? Can you keep them?
If you're very careful, you can. If you can keep them cool enough and well wrapped in a dark place,
Oh right,
you'll be able to keep them for a little while.
Yeah.
And if you know anybody who's got a crabapple tree and it's a green one, it's funny actually because one of the ladies on the that was coming to the Monday clinics said to me one evening in the autumn last year, would you like some crab apples, Susie, because I've got loads of them? And I said, oh, I'd love some if they're green because mine are red. And she said, oh, mine are red too. So I got really excited there for a minute. I thought I was going to get some green crab apples, because they really are bitter.
Just on the green apple theme, cooking. So when somebody says, I've got some cooking apples, I've got loads off my tree, do you want them? Is that just essentially a green apple? And we call it a cooking apple to imply putting loads of sugar in because they're bitter, but really a cooking apple is a green apple.
No.
Is that what
Yeah. You could eat a cooking apple if you wanted to. You could put a bit in your juice.
No, but...
Can't they be quite harsh on your stomach though, cooking apples?
That's why you would probably only want a quarter. Yeah.
So they are. So it is different from simply a green apple then.
They are slightly different. I guess they are. I mean, I have eaten a cooking apple myself before. You know, a small one, and another one that tends to be green is cider apple. But again, if you've got someone that's grown some cider apples. But yes, if you're going to put a little bit in a juice, because they're quite large, you would probably only want a quarter.
Yeah. Okay.
So then, if you can increase that glucuronidation, just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Detoxification pathway, that is what will help your body excrete those excess estrogens and any other environmental toxins as well. This is one of the most important pathways, and this is why veggies are so crucial really to keep in the diet at any time, because they themselves will help your liver detox pathways. Also from the perspective, you know, we've talked a lot already about how important all of those veggies are for feeding your gut microbiome, and gut health also has a big impact on how estrogens metabolize, because you've got, if you have enough of a beneficial bacteria group called estrobolome in the gut, they produce essential enzymes that help you metabolize estrogens. And so, you know, even if we've gone past menopause and we're not producing them to any great degree, coming in from our external environment. And so the more we can help our body to excrete them, the better. And so these estrobolome also affect glucuronidation, and they help detoxify both synthetic, the ones we've just been mentioning from water and so on, and from plastics. And my goodness, there's even more plastic in spite of what we're supposed to be doing for environmental purposes. A hell of a lot more plastics coming into the environment at the moment. So not only natural estrogens, but also synthetic ones. Now, the unfortunate thing then is that any pathogenic bacteria in the gut produce an enzyme that blocks these estrogen detox processes. And again, that is what helps allow these partially metabolized hormones to reabsorb into the body. So if we can support our gut microbiome, if we can support our liver detox pathways, then we have a much better chance of clearing these estrogens from the body. And progesterone is another way of keeping our estrogen dominance in balance, because if we can just keep producing just a little bit of progesterone, it helps oppose estrogen dominance. And I'll give you an example of that. Where we have excess estrogens, estrogen dominance blocks progesterone. And progesterone is a hormone that actually helps thyroid function. And so if we are able to keep some progesterone, being produced to a certain level for as long as possible, then we oppose estrogen dominance, and we help keep our thyroid going as well. Because if we have the situation where we do have estrogen dominance, like we've mentioned, that cortisol will produce an apple shape because it makes you fat around your belly. Estrogen dominance makes us gain weight around the hip and thighs because it is a feminizing hormone. You know, it creates that hourglass shape, but we don't want that to excess. So then you've also got, unfortunately, a situation where chemical toxins, including pesticides on food, lower progesterone levels in the body because of the impact they have on our gut flora, because of the impact they have on the liver. And just to mention that chasteberry tea, the chasteberry plant or vitex plant, increases progesterone and decreases estrogen in the body, which, if you are still menstruating, helps normalize abnormal cycles and improves any PMS, and is a fertility support, but not probably that any of us are particularly wanting that right now. So just to mention some last phytoestrogens, because they can be useful from other perspectives. There's a family group called coumistan, such as found in your spinach, your Brussels sprouts, any of your sprouts that you sprout yourself, and also red clover, which isn't necessarily one of the easiest things to get hold of, but mention it anyway. So your bean sprouts will be lovely for coumistan, and they're something that help to inhibit ovarian cancer. Then you've also got, so it's they inhibit estrogens that contribute to ovarian cancer. And then similarly, you've got your flavonols like onions, chives, kale, romaine lettuce, turnip greens. If you do get your turnips with their greens still on top, and cranberries, which help reduce the estrogens that contribute to breast and pancreatic cancer risk.
Well, that's a lot to digest.
Yes.
What about lettuce? Lettuce, organic lettuce is one of the things I can get. Is it any use, organic lettuce?
Yes, absolutely. I put that in the same category as your celery and also your cucumber because it's really, really water rich. I know Jeremy Clarkson, who knows no better, used to say that eating lettuce was like eating the sky.
Oh, right.
But what does he know? Stick to cars, you know. So, hello, Jane. Hello, Heidi. So if you think about lettuce is a lovely one actually for an evening juice because it contains substances that will help sleep. So it's really lovely. Nice one for magnesium, nice one for nutrients, you know, such as a bit of C and lots of minerals like your magnesium.
So Beatrix Potter was right then.
Oh, why? What did she say?
Well, the Flopsy, no, not the Flopsy bunnies. They ate lettuces and it was known to be soporific.
Oh, she was right. Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes, because they fell asleep in the lettuce patch, didn't they?
That's right. Yeah.
Mr. McGregor putting it after them.
Not to fall asleep in the lettuce patch.
Yeah, don't fall asleep in the lettuce patch.
I read all the intellectual books, you know. Yeah.
I can see me eating lettuce and celery because those are the two things I can really get. I can only get red.
Well, they sound like a lovely combination.
Yeah,
lovely.
yeah. I can cucumber. I can get too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 3 really great, fabulous ones there. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, Beatrix Potter was a very knowledgeable botanist. She was incredible.
Susie, can I ask you about? I've got a friend who's I'm pretty sure she's got ovarian cancer, and she probably will go down the, you know, the chemo route. But you can't really start juicing and doing things like that if you're going to do all those chemicals, or am I wrong? I mean, you know, can you juice and take chemotherapy at the same time?
You can, but you would need to do a modified version and a modified version of the techniques, mainly because the chemotherapy would create such a lot of stress for the liver.
Yeah,
that you'd have to take it much more slowly.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other
One of the things I've found, you know, I have just a pure, every other day, the pure celery juice, the whole glass, is that by the end of the day, I feel I better do an enema, because I just feel that my body needs it.
I guess it entirely depends. You know, this is such an individual thing, and it's one of the reasons why I think it's really important to go back to, I think it was session 2, where we looked at the naturopathic techniques, because it's so important to feel yourself when you need to support the body with an enema or with a castor oil pack, because to get a feeling of what is going on, you know, how you're feeling, what you're noticing with the skin, what you're noticing with your energy, what you're noticing with any pain in the body, for example, in muscles or joints, whether you need to.
My body just feels tingly. So, you know, sort of thing, you know, about 8 o'clock, I think, well, if I don't do one, I won't sleep tonight. So I have to do one.
Right. Yes.
And after it, the body doesn't feel tingly anymore. Yes. And I do sleep all right.
Yeah. So then what's happening, Anne, is that the sodium's coming out of the cells and it's irritating the central nervous system. And that's why, you know, when you do that that enema, it helps to pull the sodium out through the liver and the gut and get it out of the body. Yeah, that's great. Lovely example. Thank you. Any other queries?
Well, I'll be thinking about you tomorrow, Susie.
Oh, thank you. It's Friday. Yeah.
Friday, is it? Yeah, thinking about you on Friday.
Thank you very much.
So it'll be Wednesday next week.
It will, yeah, Wednesday next week, and then we make a start on our 9 days on the bank holiday weekend, don't we?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I can't believe it's come up so quick. So we're talking like 10 days and we'll be in there.
Yeah.
How's it going, by the way? Please do share. How's it going?
Going well.
You feeling?
It's okay.
Going well. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I get really, really hungry.
Right. In that case, I think we'd better have a chat about a bit more bulk for you. And from next Tuesday, I would really like to have a proper chat with everybody, if we can set up a little session and have a chat about what to do going forward from there before we start our 10 days. So
I'm getting hungry as well. I'm definitely getting really hungry.
Yes, yeah. And
then I'm like really tempted to eat stuff I shouldn't at that point.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, because I'm like,
I've even had to give in. I've had to give myself permission to give in a couple of times.
Yes, yeah. What is it that you feel attracted to when you're feeling like that?
Bulk.
Yeah, the bulk. Yeah.
A bit dizzy, irritable,
right.
Unsated.
Yes. Well, one thing is to also think about whether you're putting enough techniques in at this stage, and that's something that we need to talk about with each individual person, because
I'm not.
If you may really find that you need some castor oil packing, and at least a water flush, if not a herb retention or a chamomile retention by now, possibly, depending on the person. And so if you've got any symptoms coming up, like the ones we've mentioned, such as achy muscles, the kind of thing and notice with the nervous system, blood sugar cravings, that
You're frozen, Susie.
Yeah, I can't hear her at all.
No, she's frozen, I think. One thing I find is oatcakes with nut butter on and a little bit of bananas, quite filling.
Yeah.
That's my go-to, but I've been told I'm not allowed to have that at the moment. So
I can't have any grains at the moment, which yes,
Not even oats.
no grains. No.
Well, maybe it's going well for me because I'm eating all the wrong stuff. So
no, but that's for me. That's for me.
Some things are really individualized, aren't they? Personal. Yeah.
It's just for me. I look at what I can eat, not what I can't eat.
Yeah.
Like sugar snap peas with hot sauce, quite good.
Have we got you back, Susie?
Yeah.
No, Susie.
No, yeah. I can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Hear me? Oh,
yes, you can.
Yeah, it's just not in sync with your mouth's not moving with the sounds. It's just not in sync. But there you go.
About that.
Oh, there we are. Yeah, you're okay.
The dubbing's gone. Yeah. So what were we saying? Oh yes, techniques. And so also thinking about whether you can increase the portions of your starchy vegetables on your plate. So if you're feeling hungry, make a bigger salad, have a little bit more of each veg, and create that bulk in your stomach from the fiber in the meal. Can be really helpful, because it's that helps the fullness, and then your stomach will be busy getting on with digesting that as well.
Which day of the bank holiday do we start, and which days are we doing the actual detox? Is it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Saturday, Sunday? Yeah. Friday, Saturday.
Let me just get the date.
I thought it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
I'm probably easier doing it by date, actually, because what I've got down is the Monday 1st, 2nd, 3rd is our prep, so our vegan days. I've got 6th, 7th, 8th for our detox days, and 7th, 8th, 9th for our exit days.
Yeah.
Is there flexibility? Can you do it 7th, 8th, 9th, or?
Yes, you can do that if you need to, because you're still just at the full moon. Janice is going to do it over the bank holiday because she's got 3 days there. So that's also another option for your juice days.
Okay. It'd just be easier for me over the weekend, really. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, Susie. I'd got the first vegan day down as the 3rd. Is that wrong? That's bank holiday Monday.
Oh God, yes. Sorry,
That's
I'm
what I've got,
reading
yeah.
you out. I'm reading you out my days rather than my dates, aren't I? So sorry. Yes.
So, Susie,
Right.
can you send it to us, Susie? Can you send it?
Yes, I will. We've
Yeah.
got 3rd, 4th, 5th. I do beg your
Yeah.
pardon. Is your 3 days going in?
Yeah.
6th,
Yeah.
7th, 8th is your detox days, and 9th, 10th, 11th is your exit days. Quite right. Thank you, Jane.
That's all right.
I'm reading my own
6th.
handwriting instead of the dates in the diary, where I'd written the numbers for the days, not the dates.
So
Susie, when we do the juicing, are you going to tell us what to get? Are you going to give us? So we'll have to order it in, or we'll have to know in advance what we've, how much we need to order and stuff, won't we? And
yes, that's right. I've created a sort of shopping list as well alongside to go with it. Yeah, and last time or last year I did give 2 alternatives to start with, but the second one I did much more simply.
Right.
It's a lot of
less confusing, it's
a lot of stuff. I can just remember sending Richard to get it, and he came back and he was like, "Oh my God, what?" He thought it was like, "You're not going to have all this." Impossible.
oh dear.
And it was in a lockdown as well, and you couldn't just turn up at the shop. It was I don't know how I even managed to do it. Anyway.
Did you feel good after you'd done it?
Yeah, I did, yeah. I feel much better now compared to like a year on. I feel so much better than I did last year.
You did too last year, didn't you, Sonia?
Yeah, I feel like a million times better, actually. Because I had COVID about a month ago this time last year, and it's taken me about a year to feel better, really. Or I had COVID type symptoms, and a lot of fatigue around it. Yeah, I feel so much better.
That's good.
Well done, Susie.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping to be regenerated.
Reborn.
Hope so. Anything else for now?
No.
No?
That's great.
Are you all right?
That's lovely. Thank you very much, Susie.
Yeah.
So see you next Wednesday.
Yes, thank you, Susie.
I'll be thinking of you on
before,
Friday.
I'll send out a calendar for you to get a time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Susie.
Okay, thank you. Take care.
All
Hope it goes okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.